So your participation in this process is good. I really appreciate you being here, and it's valuable to me to hear your input. I've done these kind of meetings for about 30 years when I was in the state legislature and right now in Congress. They've always been very, very beneficial. I've benefited from just the constructive, productive discussions and civil gathering of citizens. It doesn't mean we always agree. We may not agree, but it does mean we can have differences of opinion but still respect each other and share those opinions. People take time to come to these meetings. I think they have some expectations. Those expectations are to hear their elected representative, to express their opinion, and to be heard by others and feel safe. So these expectations are reasonable. According to that, that's how we'll conduct this town hall. I'm a good listener. Nobody has to yell or anything. As a matter of fact, we yell in here. This is the only thing you can find for going to do on College Park. It's the only thing you can find. So the library also has rules, and they'll toss me out if you get too loud. So be careful about that. But anyway, we're going to exchange it. It's not a political sort of media event. It's just an opportunity to hear what people have to say. Hear me. I'll talk a little bit. So I'll make a short presentation, and then we'll have some questions, and that'll be it. It'll be about an hour in length. So everybody agree to that? Everybody can agree? Yeah, good. That's the way we're going to do it. First of all, I have this little card. Has my picture on it, has my name on it. But I realized this was loaned to me. It's not something that I get to keep forever. It's 2 years. The voters loaned it to me in November of 2010. And if I were not reelected, then I would give it up at the end of December of this year. If they were to reelect me, then I would get it again. But again, I view it as borrowed. It's only borrowed, and I can use it to the best of my ability to benefit citizens of this community and in some cases citizens of the country, depending on the issue. There's a little voting card reader. You put it down in there, and there's several of them across the floor of the House. If you ever watched it on C-SPAN, you don't really see them on the back of some of the desks. And you insert it, and then the light comes on, you can vote. Actually here, different from the Florida legislature, in Congress, there are 3 buttons. In the legislature, there were only 2. I was used to that for 28 years, red and green. It's pretty obvious, red's no and green was yes. There's also a yellow button you can push for. They call it the present button, but I call it the chicken button. You don't want to take a position, but I was sent there to take positions, and that's what I intend on doing. So I haven't used the yellow button except in a quorum call where they're just looking for who's there. There's no question at hand, just you're there. So I don't use that button. So anyway, I want to use it to the best of my ability, and that's what we're here to talk about. Let me move to a slide which will how much debt? Yes, we can see how much debt we have, and it's running. It's getting more. That's 15 trillion, and as we do this at the end of this, it's going to have gone up about $175 million just in the hour that we're discussing here. So it's running pretty fast. And so if you could give me the slide that shows where we're headed, which is yes, right here. This is, I did some of these last year, and we were right here. Now we're here. And you can see there's this, if we go out on the current path, we're really in trouble. We cannot, we'll see in a little bit the different countries of where they are as far as their publicly held debt as a percentage of the total gross domestic product. Greece is right here in theirs as far as this percentage. That's where they are. They're right here. Spain is pretty close to where we are, and you read about them, and you see what kind of, but even here in Greece, getting ready to default, their elected officials are under pressure because the people don't want to do it, even though they're going to, the country's going to go bankrupt, and they don't want to do it. So to say that just because people see this, they believe we should act, there are a lot of people that don't believe we should act. And I think it's something we have to do. So we voted on budgets before the end of this last week. And there were quite a few budgets presented. Different people, the Congressional Black Caucus presented a budget, the Progressives presented a budget, the Democrats presented a budget. There was one called, they call it the Ryan budget, which would be the Republican plan there, and then the President's budget was also taken up. All those were voted on, unlike the Congress before, where no amendments were ever offered. Matter of fact, there was no budget done. There was no budget. And if you take a look at the Senate has not passed the budget in over 1,000 days. And they don't have, even though we passed one, and we had last year, we're passing this one here, this little book. We passed this fall, this week. Don't expect the Senate. They've already said we're not doing a budget. We don't want to have a budget, which is a little bit disconcerting because of the way this line is. And all the budget does, this really binds the appropriators of money in the U.S. House to a certain level of spending for this year. It makes recommendations for for a full 10 years. So you hear all about what happens in 10 years, and that's kind of the way things are based, is on 10 years, but this only is for this year. There was one last year, and it was projected out 10 years, and there'll be another one the next year, but it only applies to this year's budget as far as being fixed numbers. So we as a House of Representatives will take the numbers found in here for each of the areas like defense or agriculture or transportation, other things, and we'll spend to these numbers. So that's pretty much the way it works. And then next year, even though this budget is projected out, and we'll take a look and see what this budget does according to this chart. This is the current path. This would be the President's proposed budget. If you just continued on, the Congressional Budget Office has projected out, them and the OMB, which is in the President's office, both have projected out what would occur if we stay on the same path, continuing to borrow about $1.3 to $1.5 trillion every year. It gets worse. CBO, I think their computers can't go beyond this date right here. They crash. So those are only projections of what would happen. So one of the budgets we took up was the President's budget, and it received 0 votes. It was a bipartisan effort, 414 to nothing. Even Nancy Pelosi, John Boehner both voted against that budget, and along with a whole lot of other people in the Congress, from liberal, moderate to conservative. Why? Because of this. So this particular item came to the Rules Committee. I sat on the Rules Committee, and we set rules for every bill that comes to the floor. And usually the ranking member, which would be the Democrat member, and the chairman of the committee presenting this come, and they did. Representative Van Hollen, who's the ranking Democrat, and Representative Paul Ryan, who is the chairman of the committee, came and presented this and gave their opinion. Representative Van Hollen was against this bill, and Representative Ryan was for it. I asked Representative Van Hollen, given, because this is in one of these pages, this document is in one of the pages in this booklet as part of the document. And I asked him, given this page, do you believe that something has to change? Do you believe that it's incumbent upon us to make a change? And he said, yes. And I was surprised he said that, but he did. And so did Paul Ryan. They both said yes. Now, both of them had different opinions on what needed to be done, or maybe the way to do it, but at least they both agreed. You can't do this